appreciate all of you who gave me birthday wishes, those of you that reached out from Instagram, text message, phone calls, emails, inboxes. Thank you so much for taking out time to share my day with me. I appreciate you so very, very much for everything that you add to my life. I don't take it for granted that God will put me on the minds of people, and you all would wish me well. So thank you so very, very much for that. I want to be a gift to you, and today I want to talk about helping your harvest. Helping your harvest. It's important because I think sometimes as spiritual people, we believe that certain things are just automatic. They're just going to happen. They're just going to show up. But the harvest is pleasant, but you can do some things to help your harvest. I want to lift up 3 things to help you do that. Number 1, if you're going to help your harvest, that means to help your return. And some of you, you have sown greatly. You have invested greatly, your time, your talents, and your treasures. If you're going to help your harvest, you have to consider the source. That means you have to consider where you're sowing into or who you're sowing into. You've got to consider that. That if you are sowing into contaminated people, places, and things, then you are going to end up being contaminated. You want to sow into fruitful things. That's why I love Galatians 6:6. It says, let him that is taught in the word, not just taught anything, but taught in the word, communicate to that teacher and all good things. That becomes the source. That person who is sharing with me, who is giving me life, who is making me better. I want to communicate to them. You got to consider the source. And then you got to consider the soil. Are they good ground? Not just the person. Yeah, I like them, but what's the ground? How's their ministry going? How's their life going? How is their marriage? That if you're finding your marriage on the rocks, you spending time with people who are angry and disappointed in their own, you are not going to pull strength from that particular connection. It's only going to make you weaker. And so you have to consider the soil, because it's very, very important that, again, you sow into things where life is. You don't just sow into concrete. You want to sow into good soil that can fertilize and nurture the seed that you're planting. And yeah, that's the 3rd point. Not only would you consider the source, or should you consider the source, not only should you consider the soil, but you should also consider the seed. It's amazing that your harvest is based on the kind of seeds that you're sowing. Let me tell you what the Bible says. If you sow sparingly, you reap sparingly. If you sow bountifully, you reap bountifully. Now, that doesn't just deal with size alone. But if a person is a millionaire and they give $10, and then you have $20 and you give $10, they gave a small percentage while you gave 50%. God looks at that and he says, when you invest at that particular level, then your return comes at that particular level. And I know people say so many different things, but I don't say what I heard. I don't just say what I read. I say what I know. That when I gave sparingly, that's how I got back a return. When I gave dollars, when I gave 5s, when I gave 10s, that's how I got it back. But when I gave 20s and 50s and hundreds and thousands, that's when I noticed that God gave me the return at that level. And so you want to consider your seed. And then guess what the Bible says? The Bible says if you sow to the flesh, that's what you receive from. But if you sow to the Spirit, that's what you receive from as well. I want to help you with your harvest. You consider who you're sowing to. Consider who you're submitted to. Consider who you're partnering with. Consider their soul. Are they healthy? Are they moving forward? Are they operating in a spirit that you would want to operate in as well? Because that's one of the ways you increase in your harvest, by sowing into fields that you haven't planted. They planted it, but you're able to put a seed in and get a harvest from it. Then consider your seed. Am I properly sowing? Am I properly giving? Am I properly rendering what I have to get an intent return? I never give an offering to give an offering. I always give with intention. I give my seed a job, and I make sure it leaves my hand but never leaves my life. There are many of you, your harvest is coming, but you can help it come to pass. You don't just do things aimlessly. You do it with intention. You consider the source. You consider the soul. You also consider the seed. I want your harvest to come not many days from today. It's an amazing thing when fall shows up. When fall shows up, things begin to fall. Something phenomenal is going to happen. Position yourself and help your harvest. Promise is coming. See you next month.